Hello, I'm Tom Dunn. I'm publisher of Wainimi Voice, and today we're going to discuss the homeless issue that is starting to affect Oxnard and Port Wainimi. And we're going to open this up by giving you what we know has gone on so far. I plan this to be a three-part series. As we learn more, we're going to let you know about it. Today I am with Lorenzo Castillo. Welcome, Lorenzo.
Thank you, Tom.
We're in Lorenzo's office. It's Exit
Castillo Realty.
Realty, and he does a lot of work with the homeless community, and we'll find out from him what's going on. And also, I have Lang Martinez. Welcome, Lang.
Thank you, Tom.
Lang was one of these people a few years back, and he's going to bring in some first-person experiences and let us understand, what are these people thinking? Because a lot of us would think, oh, wow, they're coming to help me, but they're not like us, and they have different issues, and we're going to look into that so that we can have a background on what needs to be done, because this has been a vicious cycle for a number of years, and it's getting worse. I'll give you an example. One of our reporters on Wainimi Voice took a train trip last weekend from, I guess, Oxnard to San Diego. They went through Simi Valley, Camarillo, Simi Valley, Los Angeles, and down to down to San Diego. And they saw homeless people the whole way. They saw them in Thousand Oaks. They saw them in Simi Valley. They saw them along the railroad tracks between Simi and LA, between LA and San Diego. And they also saw them under on-ramps at the LA freeways. And I was recently downtown, it's been over a year, and it is just amazing. It's like little tiny cities of hundreds of people. So it's getting to be really a major issue. I'd like to start with you, Lorenzo. Uh, One of the reasons that I wanted to talk to a business person in Oxnard was a lot of the people, besides being at Ormond Beach, which is on the borderline of Port Hueneme and Oxnard, they have come into the city of Oxnard and are at the Plaza Park, where they camp out during the day. And we'll have some of those pictures posted on our site here. Being a businessman very close to here, how have you seen the downtown area change, and what would 2 years be reasonable, or a year?
Thank you, Tom, for for bringing this up. I think it's something that is really important that a lot of the community don't understand. The homelessness, and I've been here in Oxnard since 1972.
Mm.
So I've seen a lot of changes. I think the downtown, and obviously my office is downtown Oxnard, right across from the police department on 3rd and C Street. And, the Plaza Park is a couple of blocks away. And there's a lot of people around here that I know personally, the homeless people, because I talk to them just about on a daily basis, because I'm involved with obviously housing. I've been doing real estate for 28 years. And I'm involved in the housing. And one of my passions is helping people to buy real estate. It's my business, it's my passion, and I feel that everybody should own or have a place to live. But in the last 2 years, I believe that downtown has gotten much worse in a lot of the areas here near downtown, like um, you know, the Plaza Park, which is on Fifth Street and C and B Street.
When did you first notice that become, more than just one or two people hanging out there, to where they brought their camping stuff and made it a home?
You know what? I've been involved with helping homeless people and people to understand alcohol and alcohol is a drug and addiction and mental illness. I've been involved in that field because I own properties where we house alcohol and drug recovery, and people that have mental illness, which is part of Ventura County Housing, Ventura County Behavioral Health. And I've been doing this since 2005, 2006. Uh, and I've noticed that probably more in the last probably in the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, like you said, 2 years more often. I mean, obviously, I've seen people on the streets, and I've known personally know homeless people that have changed their way of living and their way of thinking. But it's gotten much worse. And the place where I saw it, where it's getting to now, where it's looking more like downtown LA, and I go to LA once in a while, and that's Skid Row and a lot of the downtown, and you start to see a lot of encampments here in downtown Oxnard.
When you said about maybe 2 years ago, you saw the growth explosion of it. Where did these people come from? And I've heard stories, but I want to hear from you. Where do you think they came from? And I'll get to you. You know personally.
Well, one of the things that I hear, and when I talk to people, because I'm involved in this, I hear stories from people. Oh, they're sending them from LA, and they're sending them from Santa Paula, they're sending them from Santa Barbara. And the truth is this, most of the homeless people population here in Oxnard are people from Oxnard. I know personally people that I went to school with that are homeless, that have died in the streets. And I also know that a lot of people, especially, there's a lot of older men and women, probably beyond their 60s. I'm going to be 60 in September. So I know there's a lot of people that once they get past 60 are more prone to becoming homeless because of obviously the reasons that are obvious to the public. But I know there's people that are from out of the area. When I talk to some of these people, I know that they're from, Florida, people from different areas.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, and different areas, but it's not because they're sending them to Oxnard. I mean, people come here. People claim to be that it's because of the weather, because you hear so many stories. But obviously, most of the majority of the people, and I'm sure Glenn can agree because he knows a lot more into more personal, a lot of the people that are from here. Now, it's a big complicated issue because people think that homeless is just one. People that are homeless is just one big lump of people, and there's different areas. I mean, I know people that have jobs and are homeless because they sleep and live in their cars, or people have motorhomes or vans where they're not on the street. I see people on the sidewalks. I've seen people here in front of my office.
So that's sort of like two separate groups. You have the ones that maybe have a job at a low-paying job, but they can afford a car, so they don't have to live in the park or at Ormond Beach. And then you have the ones who don't have a car, so if they want to live down there.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that because the other day my attorney got really pissed off on me. She goes, "You generalize." She goes, "You say that homeless people don't want help." I said, "You know what? I'm sorry, I said it the wrong way." I said, "Most of the homeless people don't want help. Obviously there's people that need help with a place to live, but the other part of the big problem is that Oxnard or Ventura County or Southern California or California is so expensive. I mean, we need affordable housing for people that have jobs and are able to pay. But there's also the people that have the mental illness, which, they don't take their medications and they're just that mental illness."
I heard this, I can't remember where I heard it in the last month. I guess it could have been on radio or it could have been on in the newspaper, that a nurse. Now, nurses are in big demand. They should be making pretty good money these days. And this lady said, because of certain circumstances, and one of them is the high rent income in Ventura and Oxnard, that she was going to have to move out of where she was living and live in her car. And she's a nurse, been there for 10, 15 years.
Yep.
When it starts affecting that level, it's a whole different ball game because we have another issue in Oxnard, which is still going on, the wastewater plant and the new Indy plant for having smell and noises coming out of those plants. Well, that's simple. It's right in front of you. You see the problem, and you can find a way to do it. Here, it is just all over the place, different types of people, different ways you can go. Can you help this group, but you can't help that group? And we got to learn how to spend the money correctly.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, obviously, there's a lot of different opinions and issues about, overcrowding and, homelessness and the prices and rent control and all these things that have to do with housing. But the bottom line is this, um, prices in Southern California are too expensive, period. They're not building enough affordable housing. That's the other problem. And the other problem is that, the cost of living is high. Um, wages are pretty much the same, they don't go up. So there's a big problem with that. But I think the biggest problem and the problem that, I heard it from city council, from business owners, they're tired of the homelessness because of people that don't respect the businesses, I mean, what they do. And obviously, it has to do more with mental illness. It's not that people are irresponsible, lazy, or any of that stuff. And the same thing goes with alcohol and drugs. People don't believe that alcohol is a drug, and drug addiction is an illness. It's a big problem.
Okay, I would like to, I'm going to talk to Lang and then come back to you. I know the city has a couple things going. They're starting to work on and some grants. You can explain that. Lang, mental illness and drug abuse, from what I've talked to you before, are the two major problems. And can you just give us a little bit of personally why these people have the thoughts that they do and how they got there and how can we possibly help them?
Well, I think some say it's genetic, at birth. It's also been shown that their twins have been born from alcoholic addict parents, and one's addicted and one's not. But it starts somewhere in the beginning from childhood. I call it being traumatized. They're already growing up with issues and not understanding why certain things were happening. Why me? And what's happened is, speaking for myself, and I have to say it's true. I don't know. Lorenzo was talking about a certain group of people, living in their cars, living in their jobs. I would say that percentage that he's talking about that needs a house, he's probably about 20%, maybe 25. I have to go to 75, 80% that wouldn't be able to do what he was saying as far as affordable housing. They definitely don't have cars. They probably sold them. I know I did. But to go back to it is, for myself speaking, I find it true is, I always, I write articles and stuff like that with Citizen Store, like I say, nobody knows but me. And they read that, and the homeless people that are in the same situation as me as far as I suffer, I have there's some mental issues. I'm honest about it. I'm a drug addict. I'm alcoholic. You know what I mean? And, I've done some damage to myself. You know what I mean? And, it all goes back to our deepest, darkest secrets. The drug or the alcohol, it's a Band-Aid. We don't want to feel. You know what I mean? It's,
From previous pain.
Yeah, from previous pain. It all comes down to pain. I work a program I work a 12-step program. And I'm just basically starting to get into it. This whole year, basically, I've been trying to, make a point, put stuff, looking at me because people made that comment. I'm very proud of where I am today. But I do want to know where I'm at today. I just barely scratched the surface where I'm at because I do work a 12-step program. And in the 4th step, it talks about the resentment list, about the pain. And you have to work through that to get through it to the other side. You know what I mean? It goes with that. And what we do is what happens is this happens as a cause and effect. And what's happened is we no longer feel we have to be accountable for the things that somebody owes us. You're responsible for the way I feel or what's happened to me. I kind of go with the thing for myself, for what happened to me personally. I went through some stuff as a child, up until I was 16, some bad things. But I was raised in parochial school, and these things were happening at home or other places. And to sit there and tell me about this God, I didn't understand because I thought he was a kind of loving person. And how could he let this happen to me? He didn't let this happen to me. I was a victim. I was a victim of molestation. I was a victim of being beat. I was a victim of not knowing who my father was. I'm a victim of a lot of things. But what happens is through time and me being caught in my addiction, see, I wanted you to pay for it. I wanted you to pay for my pain. So the same things that were done to me, I wanted to do to others. I wasn't taking accountability. I was responsible. I wasn't grateful. If you gave me a sandwich, you owed it to me. And what's happened is I call it basically sitting in like a sauna of diarrhea. And if you, like I said before, the last time, you know, if you look to the right, there's two steps. You have to make the decision to stand up and take those steps to get out and be
So-
accountable.
Somewhere along the line, between as a child and as a middle, younger adult, you don't have the processes in your brain to work around them, and so you look for other things to try to take care of it, and of course, we know that's a losing situation. So you've been through working on the 12-step for about a year now,
Yeah.
and your current situation, I think, has been much improved. Give us a little bit on what you're doing now and how it's working for you.
Well, right, how it's working for me, well, it's probably been working for me. I got to be honest about. You know what I did is that we talk. You know, I talked about that promise, and what's happened is things have moved fast for me, as you know, in my life. You know, I just gave up on 1 year on the 25th. All these things came too fast for me, and see what you people need to know is that I need to stop where I'm at and take a look at myself now, so that I don't lose those things that God's given me. And the reason why I'm here with Lorenzo, I wanted to do this with Lorenzo because he's one of the person that told me that I need to stop and I need to start working on myself one more time. You see, people need to understand. See, having 5 years, 3 times, being a drug and alcohol counselor, having businesses, having money, it takes a lot of people to help a guy like Lang. Even though what I know, those people out there aren't educated like I was, you know, like I am. They don't know the book. They don't know the program. They haven't had houses. They haven't had families. I've done that 3 times. And I'm going to tell you how bad it is. I'd like to say this real quick, and I'll shut up. Is when I was out there with my disease, Lorenzo told me to go to this meeting 3 times. He said, Lang, if you show up at 7 a.m. meeting, he said, and you show me the initiative that you can do this, you want this, because I know you want it. I mean, I know you know what you got to do. He said, I'll give you a place to live. And he didn't want any money from me. I couldn't do it. So now you have to ask that question, why?
That's a tough question.
Yeah. Lorenzo did offer that to me.
Well, what I've seen is you're continually going through it, and it's a never-ending story. You have to, it's the hardest thing in your life. You got to keep doing it over so you don't go back there.
Well, it's progress rather than perfection. I'll never be perfect,
Okay,
you know.
all right.
Yes, sir.
You're a good example. I would like for you, Lorenzo, there's been a few things in the last week or two about the city of Oxnard has gotten some money, and there's a couple other things that are coming up. Can you just briefly tell us about that? And then in our next series that we do, we'll try to get into this and find out how is it going and how's it going to affect and what the plan is.
Well, you know, one of the things that I see, you know, and Lang said it right now. You know, a lot of people say they want help. You know, the first thing you ask somebody is, you know, when I ask people, is, you know, you want help, and obviously I have a place probably for 50 people. I have 50 beds available. I can give people 50, maybe 50, 60 beds. I can give people food 3 times a day, which we do as part of what we do. Yeah, we charge. It's not free, you know, and the reason for that is because people need to be accountable. You know, if somebody wants something, they got to do something for it. You know, usually people call me, and usually it's the family or the relatives. You know what? I need a place for my son, or I need this. I said, you know, do me a favor, have him call me. You know, don't call for him. Have him call me. You know, and the biggest problem is this. You know, I understand, and you know what? I don't want to point fingers, and I don't want to get into any controversy. But you know, people feel that by giving people a place to live is going to change everything. You know, when I talk to people, most people, they say, you know, here, you know, the beds that we have available are, you know, it's a group for probably 4, 5, 6, 8 males, men,
Mm-hmm.
you know. that live in a place, they have a bed, they have a place to shower, they have a place to eat, they have a place to do their laundry, and they have a place where they can learn about life. He's talking about these 12 steps. And, what needs to really happen to people is a change of way of thinking. I am successful and I've gotten a lot of things, and I'm really grateful for everything that I have. And whenever I ask for something is because my passion is to help people, even though people don't believe or don't think that. People say, oh, you're all about the money. Yeah, I'm a real estate broker. So people think, oh, I'm developing. So people think, oh, it's all about the money. But people don't really know, you know, and people a lot of times, and I'm going to say this, a lot of people that are successful, they never think that they would be homeless or be at and you know what I do when I see people, like when I used to talk to Lang, or when I see people, and when I talk to homeless people and I try to help people, is because that could be me, like that. But people don't believe that, especially when we're successful or we're having all these material things and all these things, we don't think we're ever going to lose them, or, oh, I would never be like that. There's no way. But see, I've seen a lot of very successful people. I've known successful people that end up homeless, and it's not because they're lazy or stupid. It's the illness, the mental way of thinking.
It can be hidden for a
Oh,
while.
it's hidden for a while, and that's why that's why I talk about honesty. Thoroughly honest.
And I like what you said, and I think you would agree with it too, is the earning part of it. I earned this.
Right.
If you've had, let's just say, good parenting and growing up with part-time jobs and then going to school and getting it, it's all about earning that. And you don't want to screw it up after you've gone through all that. So that's really a fabulous point, that these people need to get back into their system.
I have friends that are very, very successful, and they had anything that anybody would want in their life. Anything, anything. And they ended up homeless or close to homelessness. And it's not because, there's things, and Lang talked about it, and, most people don't understand that the people that have issues with mental illness, obviously a lot of people were born with those illness, but a lot of people afflict those problems because of drinking and drugging, and that's part of the problem. And the big problem, and you're talking about the cities, you know what? I'm going to tell you something that I see, and I'm really good with numbers. That's one thing. I see this, the city of Oxnard, and again, I'm not pointing fingers. They're trying to do the best that they can. They have a homeless shelter for 110 people, but there's about 600 or 700 homeless people. I don't know if it's first come, first serve. I don't know the details, but I know they're trying to house people. And obviously, the people that need to be housed are the people that want it. There's people that are homeless, and I was talking to a group of four, 3 guys and a young lady the other day, and they're obviously drinking, and one of them is halfway drunk, and young guy, and he said, so why do you think you're homeless? And I'm asking questions. He said, well, I need a job. So the first thing I said, who's gonna give you a job like that? He said, dude, you're drunk. Yeah, he says, I know. So I talked to him, and I'm compassionate with these people because I understand. I mean, I was close to being homeless one time, but I was never homeless. And it's their way of thinking.
Recently, last week or so, Oxnard has received a grant of $900,000.
$1.5
million and a half total. Okay. What is that going to be used for, as far as you know now?
As far as I know, because I was at the city council meeting, is 965,000 of that was granted for the homeless shelter for 6 months. That's my understanding. And the rest, I believe, is probably for the future. And I know the city of Oxnard is looking for a permanent homeless shelter. I don't know to what capacity or what they're doing, but obviously they feel that housing people is housing first. It's the program that the city manager, and they're implementing this. Obviously, there's a lot of people that need a home. They need a place to live, to get on their life. But I don't know that that's going to be the solution.
Well, no, they're not, as far as the housing go, you can't, somebody like myself and the rest of the people out there, they actually have a foundation to be accountable for the housing that they get. That has to take effect first.
You know, obviously, there's a lot of politics involved. I mean, obviously, I have a different belief, and a lot of people don't believe on my belief, but it's worked for me, and it's working for Lang.
Um, We're going to follow this down the road, see where the money goes, how it helps people. And I want to thank Lang for participating in this. Brian, our cameraman and editor, will put a link to the video that you and I did a couple weeks ago, so people can get a real in-depth view of what, why these people are where they are. Lorenzo, thank you so much for your background and your help, and I look forward to having both of you back again, and I have a couple other videos already planned with other business people in the area, and if there's anybody that you guys find that you think would be an asset, because all I want to do is get information out there as to how we can solve this problem finally, if possible.
You know, I said it to some people, and I said, look, what people really need is education about why people, I know people get very, Brian McDonald, one of the city councilors, said, you know what, I'm losing my patience. And it's something that is difficult, but I believe that people need to be educated on what's going on.
Well,
really educated.
You mentioned homeless, and I think automatically 50% are going to fall for helping, and 50% are say, no, send them away somewhere. We need to
Yeah.
work on that like that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you both very much, and thank you guys for watching this. And if you have any comments, just go on Facebook at Wainimi Voice, and we will try to get those to the right people. Both of you, again,
Thank
really
you, Tom.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.